Something like 99% of cold emails don't get open, but you can fix that today. I've done it for myself and my clients, and I typically see open rates over 40% once the strategies I'm going to show you are implemented. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to write emails that people actually want to open, read, and that makes them want to buy from you, using the same simple structure I use in every email sequence I write. Let's get into it. People aren't ignoring your emails because they're lazy. They're ignoring them because you're giving them no reason to care. Most emails look and sound like a corporate memo. Here's our latest update. Just checking in. Don't forget about our offer. There's no hook, no reason to open, and no story to follow. Just more noise in an already crowded inbox. Now, I had a client who was sending weekly newsletters that barely got 5% open rates. We didn't change the offer. We didn't change the timing. All we did was change the way the email started. The next email got a 34% open rate and doubled their click-through rate to their offer. Now, here's what changed. We stopped writing at people and started writing to them. So if you want your emails to get open, they need to feel like something worth reading, not a pitch, a conversation. That's why I use a simple structure for every email. It goes like this: hook, story, point. So let's look at how we do that. The reason most emails fail is they jump straight to the pitch, or they wander with no real point, or they're just flat out boring. The hook, story, point framework fixes that. It's how I write every email, and once you get the hang of it, you'll never stare at a blank screen again. Here's how it works. The hook. This is your subject line and opening sentence. Its only job is to get attention and earn the click. It could be a question, a bold claim, or maybe a moment of tension. Anything that makes someone think, I need to know what this is about. The story. This is where we build connection and engagement. You don't need to be a great writer, just share a moment. It needs to be something real, specific, and human. This story gives emotion, it gives context, and it makes the email feel like something a person wrote, not a brand. Now, the last part is the point, and this is where you connect it all together. Your offer, your CTA, or the next step. It should be one clear takeaway, one action to take, and that's it. I'll show you an example of this in the next section, but for now, just remember, the hook gets the open, the story gets the read, and the point makes it matter. So here's how this looks in action. Let's say someone just downloaded your lead magnet. Maybe it was a checklist or a one-page plan. Here's the email. It starts with the subject line. I nearly quit the day before this happened. So that's a statement hook, and the goal here is to create curiosity. So the question is, you nearly quit what? The day before what happened? That sparks some curiosity and gets people to click. Now, the next thing they see is the hook, and this is the first line in your email. So here's an example. I was one click away from deleting everything. Then we get into the story. I'd spent weeks building out what I thought was the perfect offer, the emails, the page, the automation. Launched it, nothing. No sales, no replies, just silence. I was convinced I messed something up until I checked the numbers and realized the real problem wasn't my product, it was my positioning. The offer made sense to me, but it didn't speak to the actual problem my audience was trying to solve. So I changed the first headline and the first email, and suddenly people started replying. Then we tie it to a point or a call to action. So here we go, that shift, speaking directly to the problem, is exactly what your marketing should do. It's not just about giving value, it's about showing people you actually get it. Or maybe, be better, you get them. Tomorrow I'll show you how to turn that first click into consistent momentum. Until then, check out your resource, your free lead magnet. It'll help you tighten your message even more. So this kind of email works because it's short, real, and it builds trust without trying to sell too soon. So let me show you how to put this inside a Go High Level workflow so it actually gets sent when someone opts in. Now inside Go High Level, you're going to go over here on the left-hand toolbar and go to Automation, and then you should be in Workflows. Now if you don't have any workflows made, you can come up here and hit Create Workflow, and you can select a recipe or start from scratch. So the recipes here are just going to be, different things that they've already pre-built. So if you're brand new to building workflows and automations, I would recommend coming in here and selecting some of these just to look and see how they're built and some of the logic behind that. But for most of the time, we just start from scratch. So to save time in this video, I've already done that. So we're going to start with this, newsletter opt-in. Could also be a, lead magnet opt-in. Same idea here. So all your automations, at least most of them, should start with a trigger. Now, there is a option in a workflow to send to another workflow, but we'll talk about that in another video. But let's just say for most of them, you are going to need a trigger. And this is just saying, if this thing happens, start them in this workflow. So right here, this trigger right here is a form submitted. So the way you'd get to that is, let's cancel that, click on add new trigger, and you could just type in form. So once you hit form submitted right here, add a filter, you're going to select form is, and then select the forms that you have. So this is one that I already had made. So then I would just save that trigger. Now, I already have that made, so I don't actually need it. So once they have that, there's several things we can do. If we've already built a pipeline, which where you'd see that is back here in opportunities, and this would be just a simple one. So here we've got a little pipeline made. I showed how to build this in a previous video, and I'm sure I'll go more in depth in future videos. But essentially, we're just going to look, are they opting in, and then what actions do they take after that to become a customer? You could also have pipelines for once people are customers, tons of things you can do with this. But essentially, this is just going to be a visual representation at a high level of people moving through our funnels, through our pipelines, so we can actually start making some decisions. It's a good idea to start here. If you haven't seen that video where I talk about that and how you map your pipelines, I recommend checking that out. I'll have a link down to it below. But the idea here is, before you can really optimize a system, you've got to get people into it. You got to see where they get hung up, and then you've got to, craft a solution, your messaging, meet them more where they are to get them moving through your pipeline. So that create opportunity step is going to put them in there. So here we've got this newsletter opt-in, so they're getting triggered. It's going to create or update an opportunity in the pipeline we chose, and it's going to put them in an opt-in stage. And here I'm doing contact first name, contact email, so that's what will show up in the little opportunity icon. And then they're getting tagged as an opt-in, and then we're going to send them this first email. Now this is one that I already have created in here. If you opt in, you'll get this email. But right here, there's a couple ways you can do your emails. So first, you can just come in here, you pick send email, and you could actually just create your emails right in here. So you can use custom fields and custom values in these by clicking this tag. So let's say a good one is like contact first name, because if you watch the last video, you'll notice that we had them fill out on the form their first name and their email. So we do have that first name, at least whatever they put. And then you could just type in your email here. Here is one way to do it. You could also go back if you had an email already written, like in a Google Doc or something like that. You could come in here and copy it, and you could paste it in here. Again, I would get rid of kind of your things. Just check your formatting. Here there's kind of some spacing issues. I like to have some white space in mine. So that's one way you can do it. Another way you can do it here is by creating these email templates. So I don't actually want this email, but you could create them that way. Another way is to create these email templates where you've got, essentially like this, it's already in a template. So where you're going to find that is if you come in here to marketing and you go to emails up in this top bar, and then you come down here and click on templates. So from here, you can come in here and build templates. So you can come in here and hit new. So new email marketing templates. And again, you can choose from these. You could do a blank template right here. So you could do a design and drop. You could write it with HTML, or you could use plain text. I'd say for most people, the simplest is just a plain text email. You could do this if you want to put your logos and stuff like that. You could use this one. I recommend the plain text for getting started. And once you've created one, you can actually come in here and clone it and keep that same style. But these emails here, you're creating them in here. And then if you hit these little three dots here, you can come in and put in your subject line and preview text like so. And then whenever you come into your automations here, you can actually go in, and instead of typing the email in there, you can just come in here to your templates. Right here you can see on templates, I've just got that selected. So if I wanted no template, it would be like that. Otherwise, we've just got our template. Now, anytime you make a change, you'll need to save the action. So that's the two main ways you can create emails in here. If you're just getting started, I would recommend just using the simple, in workflow email editor. It's a little bit quicker, but as you create more and more workflows, it makes sense to have them in templates so that you can just go to your template library and adjust all your emails there versus having to go into every single workflow and scroll down here through to all these emails. Now, you can test this workflow by going and filling out the opt-in form that's triggering it and then making sure that it fires automatically. And that's the first step so you can test this workflow by going to your opt-in form and filling it out, and that should send you the first email. You can come up here and hit test workflow and select yourself as a contact. You can also come to the individual emails, put your email there and hit send test email, and that'll let you test those. So now you've got your first email written, loaded, and firing automatically, and that's a big win. But one email isn't enough. What you need is a welcome sequence. And a welcome sequence is where you start to build trust. It gets people to go from who are you to I need to work with you. So if you want to learn how to build out your full welcome sequence, the exact structure I use to turn strangers into buyers using just a few simple emails, then watch this video next.